Good afternoon, Commissioners. Laura Walsh with Surfrider Foundation. Oops, sorry. Surfrider appreciates staff for their attempts to reach an outcome that satisfies all parties here. However, we're still concerned about the findings and the addendum. This permit would approve a 184-foot-long seawall, a 4 to 6 foot wide walkway, and a stairway to the beach for 20 years. The proposed seawall will protect 3 houses, 2 of which are existing under the Coastal Act, and one of which was built in 1979 and not entitled to armoring, according to the Commission's own precedents and sea level rise guidance. Surfrider expressed concerns about permitting a seawall for a house that is not existing, as well as to staff's justification for approval, which is that the access way on top of the seawall is a coastal dependent use. In response to these concerns, the addendum misses our point. Our concerns are not about whether or not a coastal trail is a coastal dependent use. That's a given. Our essential concern is that a project is being deemed approvable based on its mitigation, rather than the project's overall consistency with the Coastal Act. It's bad policy to approve a project based on its mitigation in this case. And in this case, the purpose and intent of the project is to armor and protect bluff-top houses, one of which is potentially not legally entitled to armoring. Surfrider is also tantalized by the public access benefits being proposed here. We value the public access concept and believe the surf is valuable and otherwise difficult to access, so there's a practical benefit to the mitigation component. However, we're opposed to how it's currently being justified. How things stand today, I can only imagine how excited homeowners across California would be to learn that adding paths on top of seawalls can make them suddenly eligible for armoring. But if given a choice, surfers wouldn't trade beaches for access to them. We are entitled to both. Again, we support the Commission in pursuing a compromise and creative public access in this area, but the findings are flawed and we ask for a continuance. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mandy Sackett, followed by Cove Britton.
Hello, Mandy Sackett speaking on behalf of Surfrider Foundation, and I'd like to reiterate our appreciation for staff and the applicants for working to reach the best possible outcome here, but I want to speak to our concerns that we still have regarding surf impacts. The seawall that will protect these 3 houses at Pleasure Point Drive will improve coastal access to popular surf breaks in the short and medium term, but over the long term, as seas rise, continuing to armor the bluffs could destroy the surf breaks. Thank you to Gary Griggs for responding to our concerns about the need for a surf impact analysis. His letter is in the correspondence. Dr. Griggs' letter concludes that the seawall will have no effect on the adjacent surf breaks. And while we very much respect Dr. Griggs' experience here, this perspective does not address our key point that we request a surf impact study that looks at long-term impacts and sea level rise, not just historic data, and this really should be done prior to issuance of a CDP. This item considers a 20-year permit, but we know that the Commission's action today will set into motion the long-term impacts to this area. More armoring, the more momentum there will be to continue armoring, and this is evident in staff's addendum, which finds no surf impacts because there's already an existing seawall. Dr. Griggs also states that the sea level rise has not been much of an issue for Santa Cruz. Indeed, Santa Cruz 6.3 inches of rise in the past century compared to California's average of 8 inches is less. But that does not mean that sea level rise is not coming for Santa Cruz too, or it's somehow immune. The January storms are proof of that. Santa Cruz's coast is subject to bluff failure and erosion. We maintain that the seawall could prevent the surf break from adapting to increasing sea levels, because in the absence of landward migration of the bluff and wave tripping features, that could be an issue. If we don't stick to the Coastal Act's principles of limiting armoring to pre-Coastal Act structures, we will have no mechanism by which to ensure natural bluff retreat over time here or elsewhere in California, and we'd like to see more consideration for the long-term future of waves and recreational opportunities at Pleasure Point. Thank you.